Alan Wilkinson, I think I can see up there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. For those who don't know me, my name's Alan Wilkinson and I work for HSBC Agriculture. That's a bank. I'm not going to talk about duck bonds or bonuses. I do want to ask a practical question, though, of those excellent speakers we've had this morning. And that follows the great themes we had yesterday. Sustainable intensification is a subject and a definition which I think practically a lot of people struggle with. Could I ask the two speakers this morning what each farmer could take away and do on their business tomorrow in order to start and progress what is a clearly vital subject? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Right. He's got the answer. I know I haven't.
So I think the simplest way of thinking about it is use less more efficiently. So use less and be more efficient. So one of my farmer friends said to me, the thing that really made a difference on his farm was getting a grain meter for his combine so that he could see where the crop was yielding high levels and where the crop was yielding low levels. And it's that sort of understanding. It's not a lot of this is not rocket science. A lot of this is just understanding that things at a small scale matter. Things at a large scale matter, and the unit of management, the field, doesn't necessarily all have to be managed in the same way as the field next door is the field next door. So a lot of that kind of local knowledge, if it's properly employed, will allow you to make huge savings in the nitrogen you put down, the pesticides you use, and so on.
The issue of intensification is a difficult one for the public to grasp. People don't understand yet, but I think it's not far away from understanding, the point that Tim made very eloquently, that if you farm inefficiently, if you use your land inefficiently, and yet the world needs more food, you're forcing someone else to use their land more efficiently, or you're forcing deforestation on some distant country. And so what looks like an ecological choice may actually be a selfish choice. And that's a complex step to take people through, but we have to take people through that. The second thing I would say, and this is something that perhaps comes more easily to me because I didn't know a thing about agriculture until about 7 or 8 years ago. You may say I don't know much now, but I can see it from outside in a way that you probably can't. One of the strangest things in the public mind, it seems to me, and a lot of troubles come down to this, about the environment, about GM, is the public's perception that agriculture is natural. And actually, there is nothing less natural than what the first Babylonians did, when they cleared the land and tried to produce a monoculture, keep the animals off, keep the weeds off. It's a highly unnatural process. The jungle is natural, agriculture is not. And because people have got the idea that natural things are at all times and in all places more desirable and better and healthier than unnatural things, and agriculture is a natural activity, and there's the mistake, and all sorts of wrong conclusions, entirely understandable, are drawn from this. And I think that somehow we have to persuade the public, and again, I'm not speaking as a GM seed salesman, because I think GM, by the way, is an enormously important technology, but it's not the answer to all problems, actually. It's the answer to some problems. I think that once we can get people to understand more about farming and what it's really like, we shall have a much more intelligent debate. Unfortunately, the population of the world is becoming more and more urban. People don't know what farms look like. They don't know what farmers actually do. And that's not going to go away. And the present French president is the first person in the history of France who decided that that appealing to urban prejudices was more important than appealing to agriculture. And that's because there's been a shift in the pattern of population in France, and so all over the world. So we have as an industry, I mean the agricultural industry, I don't mean crop chemicals, to explain ourselves better.
Thank you. I've got a question here on the roving mic, and then I'm afraid Peter Gadd will be the last question for this session. We've got a mic live here? Please.
Sorry, my name is Philip Merricks. I've been nudged by Paolo de Castro on my left, chairman of the Agriculture and Rural Development Commission within the European Parliament, to congratulate Professor Benton on his excellent presentation, but to make the point that how do you think, or anybody else think, that your points can be translated into media perception, into public perception, and hence into political perception to make life easier for the political MEPs that will have to act on this question?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I think we have to have a public debate, much more than we have had in the past. The public has a very, very valid viewpoint, but we also have to provide a channel of information from whoever, industry, academia, to the public, to inform them so that they can make evidence-based decisions. And that's part of what we're trying to do within the Global Food Security Programme. We have a public engagement strategy where we're going to promote public debates. And I know as an academic, working with some colleagues on the floor above who work on GM, that the number of people who have felt able to kind of put their head above the parapet about contentious issues, and I've had it with respect to talking about some of the things to do with land use and organics and so on, it can become a very uncomfortable place. But I think it is absolutely important for the academic community especially, and also I guess the same applies for industry, to make sure that people do that there is people who are acting as ambassadors or champions, as in my role, leading the debate and taking the information out. Because ultimately it's got to be evidence-based. Policy should be evidence-based. Public choices should be evidence-based. And getting the evidence across in a way that will help people in a simple enough way is a challenge, but we should embrace it fully.
Go for the next question. Sorry?
Paul Fidderman's up there.
Oh, right.
Fidderman,
Have you got a microphone?
Yes, I have.
Excellent.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch your attention earlier. Yesterday, the Secretary of State in her comments made a reference to the Skills Forum, in which the NFU is a very active participant. And the questions I want to really ask you is that training and skills are obviously very important to equip farmers and growers with the knowledge to exploit the potential of their crops and livestock. And obviously listening to your talks of the potentials that are going to be going forward, it's going to be a very important issue that we get this through. What experience and observations could you make about the situation in the rest of the world that we could use that will be beneficial in the UK? In other words, how do you get this knowledge transfer across of all these potentials that you've indicated to us this morning?
Thank you. I'll take Peter Gadd's question as well, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And notwithstanding the work that's being done at Gellets Hill, and given the background of potentially a 3-crop minimum rotation under CAP reform, and the benefits of cultural diversity exemplified by the aspirations of the Green Food Project, would it be somewhat incumbent upon an agricultural company who have bred at least 3 hybrid barley varieties in recent years to look seriously at putting more research and development work into producing a safe and effective blackgrass herbicide for winter barley?
It's very tough. I was in Cambridge last September and saw a lot of farmers, and I heard a lot about blackgrass. I heard about attempts, in fact, to produce spring barley rather than winter barley, so that you could spray off the blackgrass first. But it is a problem we're working on. So to answer that question. On the question on training of farmers, do you want to take it? I mean, what we see around the world is we could talk for hours on this, and we haven't got time. But the most important thing seems to be having professional people in the farming industry, farmers who want to be farmers, one of the problems with smallholder agriculture in China and India and Southeast Asia and Africa is that people are not farmers by choice. They're farmers because their father was a farmer, or their mother was a farmer, or their grandfather was a farmer. And training is much harder. As you get land holdings beginning to combine, and the best farmer in the village takes over takes over the farming for the whole village, you tend to get more professionalization and better output. And I suppose in a sense they're learning from us. The other thing I would say is that it's clear that technology at the more advanced end of the market is becoming very much more complex. And rather as we are wondering whether our job in a sense is to take is to offer to do more of the integration work for the farmer. That's to say, putting packages together of products which prevent the farmer having to buy a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that. You will always know your land best. You will always know your microclimate best. But maybe just as when your car goes wrong now, you don't tinker with things in the bonnet, under the bonnet, because you don't know what's there. It's all electronic. I think technology will move a bit in that direction too. And the farmer will be doing precision agriculture with more integrated inputs. All this is going to change. And if I may be allowed a last remark, thinking about Paulo de Castro's question, the debate advanced a great deal in 2008. And it advanced because the price of food went up a lot. And suddenly, when the price of food rose sharply, a lot of people said, hey, what's going on here? And a lot of very serious journalists began to ask questions, and they wrote about it more. And to my mind, there was more progress made that year, though it was a very sad year in some ways. And price will bring this to the public attention.
Quick comment?
Just a quick comment on the knowledge transfer thing. I would say knowledge is very, very powerful and very useful, and there is a role for advisors, whether they're agronomists or whether they're extension services, and I think those two are absolutely crucial. And then we have got, as just hinted, a whole range of new technologies coming on streams. So if you go to Africa, everybody's got a phone, just like everybody's got a phone, and actually being able to take a photograph using image recognition system, beam it back to some advisor who can then identify and say, this is what you should do, is the sort of thing that the world is moving towards. So the knowledge economy is really powerful, or potentially really powerful, and there are technological solutions to it.
Thank you very much indeed. There is no doubt that the pressures and constraints on production are real. They're not the invention of environmentalists and those that we always deem to be against us. But I think from this morning's session, we've seen that there are solutions that farmers, government and researchers can harness and invest in to produce more and impact less. And I think that is the exciting challenge that is before us all that we take from this session. May I thank Professor Tim Benton and Martin Taylor very much indeed for a very stimulating session. Thank you. The workshops start in about 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. So if you could make your way to the workshop that you are going to, thank you very much.